Hey folks, before we get into this video, I got to say a few things at the front end of it. You'll hear mention a few times in the video to a species called Agritina aromatica. That was a plant I was looking for while I filmed this video. I did not find it during the time I filmed this video, so I'll save you the time if that's going to be a deal breaker for you. You stay till the end. There is a interesting aster at the end, Nablus serpentinarius, which is just another one that I was looking for that day. This video ended up being much more about fire-based ecology. Both of those plants are somewhat reliant on fire-based ecology. At one point, in fact, the bulk of the video, I'm kind of in an area that had recently burned. Multiple times in the video, you'll hear me make reference to the fact that there are prescribed burns in this area. I do believe that that is still true. However, the area that I was in was actually not a prescribed burn. Where I was at was actually the site of a rather unexpected little brush fire there. I'll put the news article up right about here. So there was a serious wildfire threat this past season. Don't let the fact that it's rainy and miserable in the video confuse you. We had a very dry, very warm summer. The warmth is to be expected. The dryness is somewhat alarming. In fact, I'll put up multiple news articles here. Massachusetts in general had what can only be described as something of a wildfire season. I work on the North Shore of Massachusetts. I remember driving through smoke, seeing the fire trucks on the side of the road, seeing the fires burning close to roadways. Actually, that would come a few months after this video was shot, into October, even November, we were experiencing some pretty bad wildfires in the region. So just keep that in the back of your mind as you watch this video. It was almost an omen of things to come. That was not a prescribed burn I had happened across. That was in fact a just straight up wildfire. I don't know if they ever found out if it was caused through human negligence or if it was just, a naturally occurring one. This area is prone to burning. It is a natural part of the successional, forests here. That being said, the intensity and the frequency at which the woodlands in the area of coastal Massachusetts were burning was unprecedented this year. So please just keep that in mind as I walk through, what I'm talking about in the video. The information itself, especially about the different methods that plants employ to, survive fire, is still valid. Sorry, I didn't find the target species in this one. There's a few other cool plants, but really just try to watch this with an open mind towards fire-based ecology. Fire suppression is not the answer, unfortunately. And as the climate continues to change, I'm just left wondering what it is we're going to do. It's unprecedented for Massachusetts to have a wildfire season, but every year it just seems like these, small brush fires, having occurred in the past are just occurring with greater intensity, greater frequency, and they're certainly covering larger areas than they were in the past. Again, this area is prone to burning. The spot I was on, I make reference to the fact that there was a documented wildfire here back in the 80s. It does happen from time to time. And I'm a little bit spicy in the video, so please excuse, my tone and demeanor, because I get a little heated when it comes to wildfires. Suppression is not always the answer. You can't suppress these fires forever. All that ends up happening is you just, you're artificially altering the habitat away from what it's supposed to do. Really, the answer should be, number one, trying to do whatever we can to reverse the effects of climate change. But number two, because that's an absolute bear of a challenge, is, simply prescribed small burns are almost universally the answer for situations like this. Anyway, that's 5 minutes of babbling. Here's the video presented without further comment. Hey, happy rainy September day. Fall has made its presence known here in New England. I've been trudging around here in the rain for a better part of maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, looking for a rare species of Agritina. We're on one of the nice little drumlins just outside of Boston, and have had no luck finding it. Was debating just calling it And then I realized the habitat here is interesting enough as it is, and there's some cool stuff going on here with the land management. But the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back, what is this plant here? This is Morella pensylvanica, unless I'm mistaken, and it's Myricaceae, one of the two. Definitely in the family Myricaceae, commonly known as bayberries, and indeed, these are the fruits right here. Flowers on this thing come out axially. This is all the new growth up here. Real interesting plant. You take one of these guys, you know, you can crush it. It emits a wax. Oh, I lost him. They're waxy, you know, they're slippery. Hence the common name for the family, wax myrtle family. You know, you could take one of these, crush it. Oh, give it a good sniff. That's where those, you know, bayberry beach scented candles come from. These are actually, you know, evergreen, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong on that, you know, and they just, this whole family produces this, and other ones over there. This whole family just produces a myriad of very pleasant smelling compounds. Comptonia peregrina, which is also in the family and also grows here in this type of habitat, smells similarly nice. Lovers of the sand, lovers of the talus, this gets real common along, you know, beaches in these parts of, in this part of the, you know, world. Also, you know, you'll see it in like coastal fens and stuff like that. So, like I said, this is a fell type habitat. I do lots of videos here. Oak, pine, predominantly oak and pine, lots of scrub oak, Quercus ilicifolia, which is a great plant. Some people seem to be having the misconception that there are no scrub oaks on the East Coast. There are. Quercus ilicifolia and Quercus prinoides being the two most common. You also get Quercus montana in here, which I can show you on the way out, which is a real interesting one. And they burn through here, so I'll show you what that looks like. You get almost pure stands of pitch pine and blueberry in some of the areas here. If you were further north, that'd probably be jack pine and blueberry, but I'm soaking to the bone, and I haven't found the actual target species I set out to find, so I might make this quick. Myrica pensylvanica is what, or Morella pensylvanica, whatever the hell they call it now, is what I presume this to be. There's only 3 species in this whole family. They're all very distinctive, and the habitat's wrong for Myricaceae. So Comptonia, it looks completely different than this. It's also deciduous, although we could probably see some, you know, shedding their leaves. In the order of oaks, Fagaceae, you can see some of the hickories you get in here too. Hickory. That's actually what we're looking for, is an open white pine and hickory overstory with just an open understory is what we're looking at on a slope. So the habitat's been right, but I just haven't seen the plant. Could just be too late. You know, in any case, we'll take a short little, you know, video here about some of the cool Solidagos you also got growing on here. This is Solidago bicolor, another sand lover, another talus lover. Gets these tiny little, you know, lanceolate leaves, alternate up the thing, and then just these lovely little white flowers. Oh, there's a guy on there. Oh, that's a weird looking guy. I'm not going to bust up the camera just yet unless we find our target species, which is Agritina aromatica, which is the lesser snake root, close relative of Agritina altissima, which is a much more frequently encountered plant, one I've actually grown in my yard. But in any case, that's enough of an intro. Well, there's at least 2 or 3 things I know that I can put in this, even if we don't find that species. But in any case, I'll just explain the context of where I'm trying to find it. And then if we, regardless of whether or not we do find it, you know, I can at least put a picture and explain. This is, in fact, the habitat. At least 40 years ago, they were finding this thing here. So Agritina, oh, tiny little Solidago bicolor. Only white Solidago we get in New England. Might actually be the only white species of Solidago. You know, your asters are still hanging on here. It's getting cold. That's a Eurybia deviricata. That's a real common one in oak pine woodlands, or just forest stands in general. Grows for a while. What was I going to say? So this Agritina we're looking for, it's basically, yeah, see, that's a good one. Eventually I'll get around to explaining what I was going to explain. Lots of Solidagos, lots of interesting ones. You should learn them. I might be changing my opinion. I might like Solidagos more than more than Symphyotrichum, which is also, you know, super speciose genera going off at this time of the year. Here's another one, Solidago, the blue stem goldenrod. Look at that. That one has the axe. Oh no, this is this Flexicalis? I'll have to figure out which one this is. It's got that zigzagging that Solidago Flexicalis has. The leaves are completely wrong. Could be an elm leaf goldenrod too. I'll have to take a picture of this one and get back to you. God, it's really, really pissing right now. So anyway, to make a very long story short, Agritina altissima is a plant that really, really likes the fell type habitats, these glades. Unfortunately, it is completely intolerant of forest encroachment. So it needs this mix of, you know, deciduous hardwood, a slope, open. This is too closed in for it. These are all white pine saplings. And that is unfortunately at a premium in much of New England. This is a theme I've touched on in a couple of videos at this point now. A plant might be common or even, you know, abundant where it occurs, but the specific niche within which it needs to basically do its thing might be what is at a premium. So that is why not only it's not enough to just preserve habitat, you gotta preserve, you know, the quality of the habitat. There's habitat destruction, there's habitat degradation. Habitat destruction is not that big of a hot button issue in New England these days. You know, talk about 100 years ago, obviously that was the main issue. Now a lot of New England, like this parcel here, has been set aside, you know, as a pretty nice little hideaway for all these cool plants. You get rattlesnakes in some of these areas too, farthest north. Well, not the farthest north, but the farthest northeast. I think you get them up in Vermont areas. You get rattlesnakes like to hide out in these little rocks. And I go more in context of the habitat if I find the plant. But just know, Agritina altissima is a victim of a well-meaning but ill-thought-out trend in ecological preservation, which is just this notion, if we just leave things alone, everything will come back. Unfortunately, you know, habitat has been too fucked to really do that at this point. You need human intervention in some cases, otherwise all you get is a thicket of invasives. So in here what they do is they burn, and other places they pull invasives, in some areas they you know, reintroduce species, because you can't just leave it to its own devices. That's a really common misconception, especially with the whole no lawn thing. You want to really do a good job managing that. So Agritina aromatica needs managed woodlands like this, because these fires don't occur naturally anymore. They have to set them, or I mean, they probably do occur naturally. And we're not talking about raging forest fires. You'll see what I mean. You will see clear evidence of burning, and there are trees that are basically unharmed, and there are ones that burn to a crisp because, you know, there's a natural balance to these things, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to shut up now. As an even better example, I'm going to take a picture of this guy. This might be elm-leaved goldenrod. I don't think this is Solidago. I think Solidago has thinner leaves. So we'll leave it there. We'll see what we've got. I can at least show you where they've burned, and I can show you this cool oak species, Quercus montana. But we'll cut it off here for now. Yeah, see, this is one of the plants that keeps messing with me, because it's growing, and it looks somewhat similar to Agritina. But this is one of the Nephalae. This is like Pseudonephalium or Anaphyllus, one of the two. However, it does kind of, for a moment, superficially resemble an Agritina. Agritinas, though, have actual white flowers. The white on a Nephalae, on a paper daisy, are going to be coming from the phyllodes, actually. And, of course, alternate leaves that look nothing like the leaves on an Agritina, which are opposite and rhomboid. Take a look down through here real quick. I might see something, but probably just more of these pseudonephaliums. Great plant, just not rare by any stretch of the imagination, and not at all what we're looking at. Ooh, you got some of these guys still going off. Now dwarfed, because these are annuals, and the ones coming up now are going to be having a bad time. This is a beautiful plant. These get quite big a little bit earlier. I made a video about these, so go watch that if you want to. This is a species of Areolaria. This is a yellow false foxglove in the family Orobanchaceae, and parasitizing oaks. These grow all over the place in these fells, sand plains, down in the Cape. Real interesting plants. Again, not what we're looking for though, but we'll keep poking around. I was hoping I was going to run into that again. Where'd he go? Yeah, I was hoping I was going to run into this guy again. Also, you got I've been getting into some of these grasses. A lot of what's growing here, all this stuff, rosette panic grasses, Diphasiastrum. No, Diphasiastrum is a, oh God, now I came prepared to talk about it, and now I'm gonna forget it. Dicothelium, fuck it, I can't remember. It's they're cool though, they're real cool. People call it crabgrass, but it doesn't look number one, it doesn't look like anything like crabgrass, which is in the genus Digitaria. Oh, you guys just wait, I'm getting into the grass. This is gonna be a whole other level of just straight up, what the fuck is he talking about? But anyway, not I swear, I used to know, but whatever. Dichelium, Dichellium. Okay, I'm done. I'm not going to keep guessing. Anyway, Areolaria, Petiolaria. You got 3 species of them, all look kind of similar, all bloom at somewhat different, times of the year. Pedicularia, this species here, blooms the latest and is the most common. But none, wherever this grows, you'll usually find one or two of the other, species of it, not too far away. Usually just a little bit more shaded. I know Areolaria virginica, the smooth false foxglove, likes it shaded. This one likes it open and rocky. Yeah, let's poke around here. This looks promising, although I'm not really seeing the hickories like I should be, but who knows. Hey, so right here you got a cool oak, one that you don't get everywhere in New England. I presume it's more common to the southwest of us, but where you do get it in New England tends to be these real cool, fell, glade type habitats. It's all over the place up in the Holyoke Range. And I'll put a little population map up. As you can see, all these leaves are kind of chewed up, but here's a good one right here. Kind of resembles a white oak, but gets super tapered at the base of the leaf. And those sinuses are never going to be, as deep as a Quercus alba. And, completely different habitat than Quercus bicolor, completely different soil type than Quercus Myricaceae. They call these chestnut oaks. I used to call them mountain oaks. Apparently mountain oak is a different thing. Chestnut oak, Quercus montana, even though that species epithet literally means montane, but what the fuck do I know? So anyway, you get these here. I'll put the population map up to show you where they kind of go. They just like the more upland, rocky areas, in my experience. I'm not sure what their distribution is down, to the southwest of here. I'm positive it's still slopes like this, but you usually see it where it's kind of open. It doesn't really seem to like to compete with anything, and they're never really growing in big clusters. So there's other oaks here, but right over there, that's a red oak. You got a beech here, and just this one nice mature, Quercus montana chestnut oak. So I got a chance to see Quercus Myricaceae, which does bear quite a striking resemblance to this, but that is completely restricted to super high pH, limestone. Marble is its favorite from what I've heard, and this is one that does just fine on the acid. Also, Quercus Myricaceae is not too picky of the topography. Don't quote me on that. I've only heard that. That is one you get very commonly in the Midwest. So, again, I'll put the population map of this. I would have already made the video about Quercus Myricaceae, but if I didn't, my bad. Okay, yeah, here's what I'm talking about. So they burn pretty regularly up here. And what you see what that's doing is that's taking out all this underbrush, and it leaves, a decent number of healthy trees in its wake. Oh man, it smells so good here with the rain coming off the charcoal. But you see, this is not what people think it is. All right. So this burned. Well, this looks like it was cut first, then burned. No, it was burned and then it was cut. So you get these habitats like this where, you want it open underneath. The fire, these mature trees can either take it because they're, all that sensitive leaf tissue is growing high enough up that it's not getting burnt. But even on a low burn, see, look, there's a Quercus ilicifolia right there. Doesn't take out everything. And a lot of the stuff that it is taking out, if it's truly meant and truly adapted for this type of habitat, grows right back in. So, they've been burning this area for decades, just periodically coming through. This was probably, you can see up here, was where it got super, super charred through here. But people act like, this is a West Coast thing, and they act like this is a bad thing. Yeah, you see it kills the white pines, just outright. White pine, unless they're really, really big like that one, they'll burn around the base and then be completely fine up top. They'll just grow more bark outward. You see that one? These ones didn't make the cut. This one looks like it's gonna make it. So these mature ones, you'll lose 20 of them and then you'll keep one. That's just white pine specifically. Pitch pine will burn to a crisp, but then it will immediately recolonize all this. There's a few traits. Yeah, this Quercus ilicifolia burned to a crisp, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was mature enough to resprout. So okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself here. Maybe we'll just turn this into a video about, fire ecology. So in New England, just real quick, in New England, you get fires in these fell type habitats, these rocky uplands, and you get fire down along the coastal plain. Both serve important functions. Both are critical to maintaining and refreshing open habitat. As I was just alluding to, yeah, this must have been this was like the epicenter right here. As I was just alluding to, there's numerous strategies plants can employ to deal with fire. Some, like pitch pine, I could be mistaken on pitch pine, but definitely Juniperus virginiana, which is a very weedy tree, which I've seldom seen in here, will take advantage of a clear burn. They'll die off completely. Like Juniperus virginiana is not at all fire tolerant, not even in the slightest. But you get a habitat like this with all this nice burned duff now, they're gonna spring up here very, very readily, and then they're either gonna burn again or they're gonna get crowded out and they're gonna die when the more mature forest trees come in. So that's one. You make a crazy seed bank, fire comes through, everything burns to a crisp, you shoot right up and you repopulate. That's one strategy. That's the repopulation. Then you get things like white pine. White pine is not, these young ones are not at all fire tolerant. These are gonna die, these aren't gonna come back. But the mature ones, the nice, healthy big boys, they're going to evade it. They're going to burn around the base of the trunk, but they drop all their lower branches and all of that sensitive, greenery is all up top. You can see some of these lower limbs died. They're probably going to drop, but white pine tries to evade. All right. Now you get into your hickories, your oaks, your beeches, your chestnuts back in the day are notorious example of this. You get the resprouters. They'll burn, they'll die back, but in their root tissue, they're just storing up all that sugar, all that energy, and what they're gonna do is they're gonna come through and they're just gonna resprout up, like nothing even happened. They're just gonna start over, Some of them, this guy looks like, what is that, a birch, or I can't even tell what that is. It looks like it did take a womp, There's certainly hickory, birch, whatever, not many birch, but certainly hickory, tons of oaks in here. And presumably at one point, probably even chestnut. But those guys, they're gonna, retreat back to the roots, they're gonna resprout, and they're gonna, they're just gonna basically jump back up like nothing even happened and grow a whole new plant. I think Quercus ilicifolia can do that. Certainly chestnut does that. Certainly some of the oaks are exceptionally good at that, that resprouting. And there's a fourth fire adaptation too, since we're on the topic of this, which is, we don't get many of these in New England, but down in Australia, out on the West Coast, you guys certainly get a ton of these. You get your plants that they might die back completely in the fire. Sequoia is notorious for this, but those seeds, not only are they waiting for a clearing, they need fire basically to open up the seed cones. Banksia down in South America does that. Sequoia, the example I just gave, ton of plants in California are adapted for that, but we don't really get many of those in New England because, again, we're dealing with mostly these small brush fires. This is what you would expect to get. It's not going to burn the whole forest down. It's not even going to burn everything down in its path. They're going to burn low. They're going to kill all the weedy stuff. They're going to create a nice blank canvas for things to start growing back in again. It's going to reset the ecology. You're going to maintain a handful of mature specimens, but you're going to cull everything that's essentially just not needed, that's overburdened. So people act, oh, you let nature take over, you're not gonna be able to make it through. It's a thicket so thick you can't even. That is not the natural state of things, especially in habitats like this. You're gonna get your brushy areas, certainly with blueberries, certainly with the scrub oaks, certainly with some of the Comptonia, Morella. You're gonna get to shrubby areas, but again, they're gonna be patches of it. in a nice managed area like this. God knows how long this cycle had been going on for. Certainly, Native Americans, were burning for their own reasons. They were shaping the habitat for their own uses, but they were never just clearing shit out. There was always an intention. I'm rambling. I'm getting into an area I don't know nearly as much about, but that's really cool to actually see in practice. Yeah, it's still raining. This made it worse. So that's cool to see. I mean, I'm satisfied. This is probably going to be a pretty interesting video just in itself. But, we'll go see if we can still try to find that agaritina. So, it smells really, really good too. So don't let people lie to you and tell you, when they see a yard, completely overgrown and bittersweet and buckthorn, they're like, oh, that's nature. No, that was human interference and human interference and arrogance and subsequent human indifference. That is not nature. That is literally a sick habitat. Healthy habitats are very rarely overgrown to the point of being impenetrable. I've waded through sedge meadows that you would imagine ticks would thrive in and would love, and lo and behold, I never get ticks. Guess where I get ticks? People's fucking lawns. So, food for thought. Burning habitats is pretty good, especially like habitats like these, which are adapted for it. Just, don't. Smokey the Bear lied to you. Smokey the Bear was not telling the whole truth. Part of the reason why we get these massive destructive wildfires, climate change, for one thing, but then also people not doing these small scale burns because it's scary and because, this is all government owned through here, so there's no real NIMBYs to tell you what to do and what not to do. But if you tried to do this in like a town forest, you'd be probably SOL. You'd have every single person who's never even taken a walk longer than from their driveway to their front door, telling you, their opinion and what they think is good for the habitat. In any case, get off my soapbox now. This is cool to see. I gotta find my way back to where I was, and we'll see if maybe, just maybe, we can get this agaritina. Well, I'm just going on a hunch. I don't think we're going to see it. That's okay. Hopefully this ended up being still a somewhat informative video. Standing on one of these rock faces, I came out onto this thing, neglecting to, fully appreciate how absolutely slippery it would most likely be. Yeah, so I'll show you one more thing real quick, actually. Another Solidago, because why not? If you think Solidago are boring, they occupy so many cool niches. We got a nice pokeweed right there, Phytolacca americana. This is Solidago puberula, the Downy goldenrod. How you like that? Not really sure why it gets that name. It's not really all that pubescent. Then again, maybe the rain is just playing tricks. But yeah, it's a nice one. You see this nice basal rosette down there that he's got? Yeah, that's a cool one, I guess. Not one of the most charismatic ones. Bicolor, it kind of has a similar form factor to bicolor. You can see there's some bigger ones growing down over there. But I think we'll cut it there. And you know what I'll do? There's another rare aster that I'm supposed to be looking for today. I was going to try to shoot 3 videos today. I'll probably get 2 in. There's another really cool rare aster that likes this habitat. It's just not known from this particular area. I'll see if I can find that. I'll throw that in at the end of the video. But if not, we'll cut it off here and we'll call it a day for now. But I'll be back. I'm gonna keep driving south and go see some other stuff. Ooh, there's pinweed down here, looking worse for wear. But all this stuff that just looks like dead grass right here. Ow! This is all. There's some of it still clinging on to life. We haven't dipped down below 40 at night yet. I'm surprised so much stuff is dead, but then again, it's been dry as hell this year. But yeah, that's Hypericum gentianoides. It looks nothing like most Hypericums you probably know, but it is. Those flowers are long past due, and also tend to close up by this point in the day. Anyway, we'll cut it out there, and just know if this video goes on longer, I found at least one of the asters you were looking for. So take it. Sorry, I'm being a cock tease right now. I just also wanted to show you Comptonia peregrina, which is also in that family, Myricaceae. Makes a great plant to plant outside your house because it smells incredible, just like every single other plant in that family, Myricaceae. And then more Solidago puberula. That's a cute, I take it back, that's a cute one, you know, that is a cute one. I like when it grows kind of short like that. It looks funny, you know. Anyway, all right, cutting off for real now. Evidently, I wasn't recording any of what I just said, so we left where we just were. We came to a similar-ish but different, more coastal habitat. Still a lot of oak and pine here, kind of down below a set of fells, and we found our second target species for today. This one probably would grow with that Agaritina altissima. However, I had good coordinates for it here, so here we are. At first blush, it looks like any old Nablus. Nablus is a super phenotypically plastic genus. That just means it can express itself in a number of different ways. It can, two individuals of the same species of any Nablus can look remarkably similar. This one goes by the common name lion's foot rattlesnake root. It's got these really distinctive leaves that come out the bottom. In fact, this one's by itself. Here's the actual, you know, stem of the thing. All of the flowers are done for now. It's got some flowers in bud there that might come out, you know, should it get warm again. It's been pretty chilly the last couple days, if I wasn't alluding to that earlier. Unlike Nablus trifoliolatus, unless I'm mistaken, the fact that it's making these entire leaves, which just means that there's no, you know, ridges, edges, or anything to it. It's not compound, you know, compared to the bottom leaves. It's one of the diagnostic factors here. It's also much shorter than a lot of the Nablus. You know, Nablus is super tricky to key out, especially with the flowers closed. That's a pain in the butt. Of course, you can always, with asters, go on the filaries there. I'll have to get really just detailed pictures of absolutely everything just to make sure we're accounting for everything. This one's common down south. That Agaritina aromatica that we were looking for before is kind of uncommon throughout its range. This one is like borderline a weed down south in Appalachia, but rare in New England, and for the same reason as the Agaritina is. It's the forest encroachment. You know, you'd be at the northern limit of the range anyway here. You get this prolifically in some spots in the Northeast, Albany Sand Plains, for example, or Pine Barrens, whatever the hell they call it. But that's not New England, that's New York. As a side tangent, somebody was recently trying to tell me, oh, you know, upstate New York has more in common with New England than it does with downstate. I'm like, fuck off. I barely accept Connecticut as a part of New England. I'll be cold and dead in the ground before I accept any part of New York as part of New England. Sorry. I'm not saying the Adirondacks aren't nice. It's not the same. It's not New England. And the Adirondacks are geographically and culturally completely isolated from the Appalachians. They're similar cast of characters. I can't say completely different. It's actually very similar, but you know what I mean? Whatever. It's not as high as like the White Mountains. You not as rugged as the White Mountains. You get what I mean? They were trying to say we don't like mud and, you know, hiking in New England. It's like, oh, you guys haven't seen mud till you come to the... I'm going on a tangent here. Go hike Mount Hancock and then get back to me, you cocky, whatever. Cocky fucking New Yorkers. Am I right? Anyway, you know, all due respect. I haven't made it out there. I'd love to go. Anyway, rants on, you know, New York State aside. Yeah, so weird little leaf down there that definitely belongs to this thing. You wouldn't even know that if you weren't outright coming out looking for this, knowing what you were looking for. I'm going to show you a different species of this, the common one, Nablus, or at least the common one here, Nablus trifoliolatus, on our way out. I'm going to poke around here for just 1 second more. We're going to look at a salt marsh. I want to make that another video, hopefully briefer this, because I am soaked to the bone. But it's worth it. I like this weather. It's not cold or anything. It's just raining and drizzly. Well, it's cool, but whatever. So this is Nablus serpentius. Did I even say that? This is the lion's foot rattlesnake root, rare in New England, common elsewhere. Unless I'm completely messing that up, I'll have to get better pictures of it just to really key it out. With the flowers closed, it's hard to tell. So we'll cut this video off here for good. Similar situation going on to Agaritina or aromatica. We couldn't find that. We could find this. It is what it is. That's a nice glacial erratic. And we're going to go look at a salt marsh in the next video. Yeah, okay. And then here you got a Nablus trifoliolatus, what I can only imagine as a Nablus trifoliolatus. Different leaf shape. Of course, he's missing a bunch of his bottom leaves, but you get the idea. It's doing something different than that other one. Apparently, this one's supposed to have completely glaucous filaries. and capitulescence axils, which are these little thing. And I mean, I didn't see pubescence on the other one. Definitely not on this one. So we'll have to see. Although that one was a little bit bluer. Maybe that's what they mean. We'll figure it out. We will work to figure it the heck out. In any case, Nablus is a cool genus. This one's pretty common. Some of them in New England, like, are super rare. Racemose, super rare. Bootii, super rare. And Serpentinarius is also super rare. You get a few common ones too. But, all right, I'm going to go back to my car and warm up. Take it easy.